said, snitches will be rewarded. What's more important, Admiral, rewarding snitches for ratting out their neighbor who goes to an empty beach, or actually having the police stop rioters and looters and big groups destroying national monuments and protesting and destroying private property? Which one do you think of those is more important?
Well, this clip is the moment the whole narrative starts falling apart in real time. Churches shut down like crime scenes, funerals treated like felony events, small businesses strangled out of existence. Yet somehow, if you're protesting in a crowd the size of a small country, everything's perfectly fine. Public health suddenly clocks out. Jim Jordan doesn't yell. He doesn't rant. He just keeps asking the kind of questions that make Democrats visibly uncomfortable. What's more important, worship or protesting? Mourning a loved one or marching in the streets? Feeding your family or following arbitrary rules that magically disappear for the right causes? And then it gets almost comical. Democrat mayors threatening to shut off utilities. Rewarding snitches for reporting neighbors walking on empty beaches. Meanwhile, rioters are treated like honored guests. Same virus, same science, completely different rules. That's when you realize this was never about health, it was about control. If that contradiction made your jaw drop, hit like, subscribe, and don't go anywhere. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral Giroir, what's more important, going to church or protesting?
I'm a public health person. I'm not going to say what's more important, but both need to have protection by the guidelines.
Democrats don't think that. Democrats think protesting is a lot more important than going to church. We got a story from Governor Northam. 16 people go to a sanctuary that holds 225 people. They get cited. Nothing happens to thousands and thousands of people who protest not maintaining social distance and not wearing a mask. How about this one? What's more important, going to a loved one's funeral or protesting?
We absolutely need to be consistent in the way we apply things, and there's obviously some inconsistency.
That's because the First Amendment's the First Amendment, not just parts of it, right?
I'm not a constitutional lawyer.
No, but you're an American citizen. You understand your rights. You understand the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment has a number of rights. It doesn't just say protesting trumps everything else. Mayor de Blasio, when New Yorkers who had gathered to mourn a Hasidic rabbi, he said this: my message to the Jewish community and all communities is this simple. The time for warnings has passed. I've instructed NYPD to proceed immediately to summons them. You go to someone's funeral, you're going to get arrested, but you can protest in the streets, not maintain social distancing. How about this one? What's more important, engaging in your livelihood, running your business, or protesting?
Again, you're having a rhetorical question there. We get your point. I think public health practice.
Well, you might get my point, but this is the problem. Democrat governors, Democrat mayors don't. Mayor Garcetti said this. He said he was going to turn off people's utilities, shut off utilities if anyone tried to reopen their business. Unbelievable. And yet, Mayor Garcetti, here's what else Mayor Garcetti said. He said, back in April, he said, snitches will be rewarded. What's more important, Admiral, rewarding snitches for ratting out their neighbor who goes to an empty beach, or actually having the police stop rioters and looters and big groups destroying national monuments and protesting and destroying private property? Which one do you think of those is more important?
Well, let me make a statement that public health standards need to be consistently applied. And when they're inconsistently applied, there's going to be a lot of frustration among the people who are trying to apply.
No kidding. And we have seen the height of inconsistency from Democrat mayors, Democrat governors all over this country. What do you think is more important, Admiral? The president cutting off travel to China, where this pandemic started at an early date, or Joe Biden calling that same action xenophobic? Which is more important?
Restricting travel from China and then Europe was really critical steps for us to slow the infusion of infected individuals into the country.
No kidding. Not xenophobic, was it? Just a smart move.
I have not seen any xenophobia in any of our discussions. We're trying to make decisions based on public health
Democrats sure saw it way back when the president made a decision that everyone else criticized. Democrats sure saw it. Democrats are defending the World Health Organization. It's probably more important that we not give money to an organization that lies to us than to continue to support them. What do you think is more important? Continue to give money to the World Health Organization who lied to us about the start of this pandemic, or maybe cutting off the money to the World Health Organization, Admiral?
As the U.S. representative to the executive board of the World Health Organization, it's clear that the organization needs reforms, and I will work with the administration to try to implement those reforms while preserving some very important global public health.
How about this one? How about this one? What's more important? Requiring committee members to wear a mask in a committee hearing when they're 10 feet apart from anyone else, or not sending COVID-positive people back into nursing homes? Which is more important?
That's a public health determination, and I will say it's definitely more important not to send COVID-positive people.
No kidding. Especially, and probably it's more important not to do it for 46 days than to do it for even 1 day, right?
Yes, sir.
And is it probably important when we're dealing with the pandemic that we actually get the information from the people who engage in that behavior, like the governor of the state of New York, who for 46 days sent COVID-positive people back into nursing homes? Might it be helpful if he would actually give us that information?
Information is always the basis for which we could understand what's happened and how to avoid it in the future. Yes, sir.
Admiral, I appreciate your work. I appreciate all the work you're doing. Common sense approach to all this versus what we're seeing from Democrats. You can't let people go to their loved one's funeral, but oh my goodness, we can join thousands of people in a protest. Mayor Garcetti can walk out in front of thousands of people, kneel down to him without a mask. That's fine. But oh, you go to an empty beach, he wants someone to snitch you out, rat you out, and report you to the government. And I guess you get some kind of reward. Maybe he's handing out ribbons or certificates or something for people who rat out their neighbors. I don't know. But I would like some common sense. I would like some consistency about the First Amendment, about the Constitution when it comes to these Democrat mayors and Democrat governors around the country. I yield back.
As I go to Chile.
That exchange was devastating because Jim Jordan didn't argue ideology. He argued reality. He lined up example after example showing that Democrat governors and mayors weren't following science. They were enforcing politics. Go to church? Ticketed. Attend a funeral? Threatened with arrest. Try to open your small business and feed your family? Utilities shut off. But gather in the streets by the thousands, shoulder to shoulder, no masks, no distancing, destroying property? Suddenly public health takes a vacation. And the humor here is dark but undeniable. Democrat mayors had police acting like neighborhood hall monitors, begging people to snitch on neighbors for walking on an empty beach. Snitches will be rewarded, they said, like it's middle school, not America. Meanwhile, actual rioters smashing monuments and burning cities were treated like untouchable VIPs. That's not public health. That's selective enforcement with a political agenda. Jordan absolutely nailed the First Amendment point too. The First Amendment doesn't say protesting overrides everything else. It protects religion, assembly, speech, and livelihood equally. Democrats didn't misunderstand that. They ignored it. They decided which rights were essential based on whether they liked the crowd. That's not leadership, that's authoritarian favoritism. Then came the knockout blow, China travel restrictions. When President Trump acted early to slow the virus, Democrats called it xenophobic. Turns out it was just common sense. Same thing with the World Health Organization. Why keep funding an organization that lied about the origins of the pandemic? Jordan asked the obvious questions, and suddenly, follow the science turned into we'll look into reforms. And let's not forget the nursing homes. Masks in hearings 10 feet apart somehow mattered more to Democrat leaders than not sending COVID-positive patients into nursing homes for 46 straight days. That wasn't a mistake. That was negligence, and Jordan made sure nobody forgot it. This wasn't grandstanding. This was accountability. Jim Jordan brought common sense, constitutional clarity, and moral consistency into a room that desperately lacked all three. Democrats didn't have answers because there weren't any. And that's why this exchange hit so hard.